So when I stopped that last section, I could actually hear some of my students all the way from their homes getting ready to scream and throw things or say, come on, this is ski. You can't end it right there. But I did, because that's what we do. I couldn't leave it for the weekend. So here is the last section of chapter 8. Butler woke up, which was a surprise in itself. He knew immediately that he was alive because of the searing pain permeating every cubic centimeter of his body. This was not good. Alive he may have been, but considering the fact his neck had a 180 twist on it, he'd never so much as walk the dog again, not to mention rescue his sister. The manservant twiddled his fingers. Hurt like something else, but at least there was movement. It was amazing that he had any motor functions at all, considering the trauma his spinal column had suffered. His toes seemed all right too, but that could have been phantom response, given that he couldn't actually see them. The bleeding from his chest wound appeared to have stopped, and he was thinking straight. All in all, he was in much better shape than he had any right to be. What in heaven's name was going on here? Butler noticed something. There were blue sparks dancing along his torso. He must be hallucinating, creating pleasant images to distract himself from the inevitable. A very realistic hallucination, it must be said. The sparks congregated at trauma points, sinking into the skin. Butler shuddered. This was no hallucination. Something extraordinary was happening here. Magical. Magic? That rang a bell in his recently reassembled cranium. Fairy magic. Something was healing his wounds. He twisted his head, wincing at the grate of sliding vertebrae. There was a hand resting on his forearm. Sparks flowed from the slim elfin fingers, intuitively targeting bruises, breaks, or ruptures. There were a lot of injuries to be dealt with, but the tiny sparks handled it all quickly and effectively, like an army of mystical beavers repairing storm damage. Butler could actually feel his bones knitting and the blood retreating from his semi-congealed scabs. His head twisted involuntarily as his vertebrae slid into their niches, and strength returned in a rush as magic reproduced the 3 liters of blood lost through his chest wound. Butler jumped to his feet. Actually jumped. He was himself again. No, it was more than that. He was as strong as he had ever been. Strong enough to have another crack at that beast hunkered over his baby sister. He felt rejuvenated, and he felt his rejuvenated heart speed up like the stroke of an outboard motor. Calm, Butler told himself. Passion is the enemy of efficiency. But calm or no, the situation was desperate. This beast had already effectively killed him once, and this time he didn't even have a Sig Sauer. His own skills aside, it would be nice to have a weapon. Something with a bit of weight to it, too. His boot clinked on a metallic object. Butler glanced down at the debris strewn in the troll's wake. Perfect. But what do you think he stumbled across on the floor? Are you visualizing this mansion, this foyer that has battle armor and chainmail and all of these old weapons and things lining it, along with all the portraits of the Fowl family? Be thinking in your head, predicting, what could Butler have come across that he thinks is perfect for taking down this troll? Now we go back to where Root and Foley are. There was nothing but snow on the view screen. Come on, urged Root, hurry up. Foley elbowed past his superior. Maybe if you didn't insist on blocking all the circuit boards. Root shuffled out of the way grudgingly. In his mind, it was the circuit board's fault for being behind him. The centaur's head disappeared into an access panel. Anything? Nothing, just interference. Root slapped the screen. Not a good idea. First, because there was not one chance in a million that it could actually help. And second, because plasma screens grow extremely hot after prolonged use. Darn it! Don't touch that screen, by the way. Oh, ha ha, we have time for jokes now, do we? No, actually, anything? The snow settled into recognizable shapes. That's it, hold it there, we've got a signal. I've activated the secondary camera, plain old video, I'm afraid, but it'll have to do. Root didn't comment. He was watching the screen. This must be a movie. It couldn't be real life. So what's going on in there? Anything interesting? Root tried to answer, but his soldier's vocabulary just didn't have the superlatives. What? What is it? The commander made an attempt. It's the human. I've never... Oh, forget it, Foley. You're going to have to see this yourself. Now back in the main event, and Holly is watching what Butler does. Now you get to see why Butler is a little bit of a heartthrob, right? Here we go. Holly watched the entire episode through a gap in the tapestry folds. If she hadn't seen it, she wouldn't have believed it. In fact, it wasn't until she'd reviewed the video for her report that she was certain the whole thing wasn't a hallucination brought on by her near-death experience. As it was, the video sequence became something of a legend, initially doing the rounds on the amateur home movies cable shows and ending up on the LEP Academy hand-to-hand curriculum. The human, Butler, was strapping on a medieval suit of armor. Incredible as it seems, he apparently intended going toe-to-toe with the troll. Holly tried to warn him, tried to make some sound, but the magic hadn't yet reinflated her crushed lungs. Butler closed his visor and hefted a vicious mace. Did you predict that? Now, he grunted through the grill, I'll show you what happens when someone lays a hand on my sister. The human twirled the mace as though it were a cheerleader's baton, ramming it home between the troll's shoulder blades. A blow like that, while not fatal, certainly distracted the troll from its intended victim. Butler planted his foot just above the creature's haunches and tugged the weapon free. It relinquished its grip with a sickly sucking sound. He skipped backward, settling into a defensive stance. The troll rounded on him, all 10 talons sliding out to their full extent. Drops of venom glistened from the tip of each tusk. Playtime was over. But there would be no lightning strike this time. The beast was wary. It had been hurt. This latest attacker would be afforded the same respect as another male of the species. As far as the troll was concerned, his territory was being encroached on, and there was only one way of solving a dispute of this nature, the same way that trolls solved every dispute. I must warn you, said Butler straight-faced. I am armed and prepared to use deadly force if necessary. Well, Holly would have groaned if she could. Banter, really? The human was trying to engage a troll in macho repartee? But then Captain Short realized her mistake. The words weren't important. It was the tone he employed. Calm, soothing, like a trainer with a spooked unicorn. Step away from the female. Easy now. The troll ballooned its cheeks and howled. Scare tactics. Testing the water. Butler didn't flinch. Yeah, real scary. Now just back out of the door and I won't have to cut you into little pieces. The troll snorted, miffed by this reaction. Generally, his roar sent whatever creature was facing it scurrying down the tunnel. One step at a time, nice and slow. Easy there, big fella. You could almost see it in the troll's eyes, a flicker of uncertainty. Maybe this human was... And that was when Butler struck. He danced under the tusks, hammering home a devastating uppercut with his medieval weapon. The troll staggered backward, talons flailing wildly, but it was too late. Butler had stepped out of reach, scooting across to the other side of the corridor. The troll lumbered after him, spitting dislodged teeth from pulped gums. Butler sank to his knees, sliding and turning, the polished floor bearing him like an ice skater. He ducked and pirouetted, facing his pursuer. Guess what I found, he said, raising his Sig Sauer. No chest shots this time. Butler laid in the rest of the automatic's clip in a 10-centimeter diameter between the troll's eyes. Unfortunately for Butler, due to millennia spent butting each other, trolls have developed a thick ridge of bone covering their brows. So this textbook spread failed to penetrate the skull in spite of the Teflon-coated load. However, 10 Devastator slugs can't be ignored by any creature on the planet, and the troll was no exception. The bullets beat a sledgehammer tattoo on its cranium, causing instant concussion. The animal staggered backward, slapping at its own forehead. Butler was after it in a heartbeat, pinning one shaggy foot beneath the mace spikes. The troll was concussed, blinded by blood, and lame. A normal person would feel a shard of remorse, but not Butler. He'd seen too many men gored by injured animals. Now was the dangerous time. It was no time for mercy. It was time to terminate with extreme prejudice. Holly could only watch helplessly as the human took careful aim and delivered a series of crippling blows to the stricken creature. First, he took out the tendons, bringing the troll to its knees. Then he abandoned the mace and went to work with the gauntlet hands, perhaps deadlier than the mace had been. The unfortunate troll fought back pathetically, even managing to land a few glancing blows, but they failed to penetrate the antique armor. Meanwhile, Butler toiled like a surgeon. Working on the assumption that the troll and human physiques were basically the same, he rained blow after blow on the dumb creature, reducing it to a heap of quivering fur in so many seconds. It was pitiful to watch. And the manservant wasn't finished yet. He stripped off the bloodied gauntlets, loading a fresh clip into the handgun. "Let's see how much bone you have under your chin." "No," gasped Holly with the first breath in her body. "Don't!" Butler ignored her, jamming the barrel beneath the troll's jaw. "Don't do it! You owe me!" Holly wants him to save the troll. Butler paused. Juliet was alive, it was true. Confused, certainly, but alive. He thumbed the hammer on his pistol. Every brain cell in his head screamed for him to pull the trigger, but Juliet was alive. "You owe me, human!" Butler sighed. He'd regret this later. "Very well, Captain. The beast lives to fight another day. Lucky for him, I'm in a good mood." Holly made a noise that was somewhere between a whimper and a chuckle. "Now let's get rid of our hairy friend." Butler rolled the unconscious troll onto an armored trolley, dragging it to the devastated doorway. With a huge heave, he jettisoned the lot into the suspended night. "And don't come back," he shouted. "Amazing," said Root. "Tell me about it," agreed Foley. So now Butler has defeated the troll. Holly is helping Butler. Butler is helping Holly. How in the world do you think this is going to end? You probably will have to stay tuned until Monday for that one. Have a good weekend.